G'day everyone, welcome to the very first episode of That Other Show. And for those of you that don't know, I am Lucas from Aussie Gamers Express and I am the former host of the Age Weekly podcast. However, due to time constraints, in my personal life, I was unable to avail myself every week for that show. So, Snoogs, Greg and Rem are now taking over the reins there. Now the biggest issue there though, I still love making podcasts. I don't have the time to get it done with the other crew, so that's where this new show comes in. It won't be a weekly show, it won't be a scheduled show, rather something I'll put together when I have the time to do so. And if it's a regular weekly show that you're after, then the Age podcast with Snoogs, Ramutha and Greggio is what I recommend, and there's a link in the show notes for that one. Now, what is That Other Show? Well, that's this podcast that you're listening to right now. What's it all about? Well, it's going to be a short podcast covering a couple of significant news items in the gaming world. It's just me, so I'll do my best to keep it interesting while I talk to myself. This could open up some doors for some guests to come and join me. Are you interested? Shoot me an email to thatothershow@aussiegamersexpress.com if you are. We'll see what we can get going. Okay, so that's enough of an intro for the very first episode. Let's get started. This is episode 1 of That Other Show. Today is Friday, the 16th of November, 2018, and I am your host, Lucas, and here with me is the very, very slight hum of an amateur audio file. On this week's show, I'll be talking about the following: Sony pulling out of E3 2019, Red Dead Redemption 4 Game of the Year 2018, the passing of a real-life superhero, the Astro C40, find out what that is if you don't know, and a segment which I would like to call That Other Riddle. It's going to be a bit of a game. So, let's get into Sony pulling out of E3 in 2019. Now, this is a point of interest for me. Now, this whole thing with E3 and Sony doing weird things. We were expecting, what's that called? It was it was the PlayStation Experience. So that was cancelled for 2018. We didn't get that. So we gave them a bit of rope. Well, I did anyway. I wasn't too phased by it, considering all things that are going on behind the scenes. But now that I hear that Sony Interactive Entertainment is not going to do E3 2019, I'm starting to think that this could be a horrible little trend that might be created here. Now, Sony has, I've got a quote here. I'll go through the quote. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. And as a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 in 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. Now, that is from Sony. And basically what that means to me is they're saying we're not going to participate in this big forum of video games, this awesome thing that's been going on for 25 years plus. We're going to do our own thing and show off what we have in our own way. We're not going to bend to the requirements of whatever happens at E3. We're going to do our own thing, and we have full creative license over everything. Now, while that is good, E3 is kind of like a Christmas time for me. I look forward to it. It's something that I get excited for because there's going to be a lot of big announcements around the same time. By big names like Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, but this sort of starts to break that down where we're not even going to have one of the big contenders in 2019. I assume we're still going to have Microsoft, still going to have Nintendo, Bethesda, and I don't know, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. But Sony dropping out, does Microsoft then drop out and go and do their own thing in their own stage? I'm just getting a little bit concerned about E3's future. I love E3. I even want to go to an E3. Now, living in Sydney, it's a long way to go. I think it's in LA. It's a long way to go for an E3, and it's very expensive. I haven't been able to facilitate that as yet, but it's something I want to do in the future. And it's starting to be a little bit of a worry that it's not going to happen anymore. I'll keep looking up what's going to go on, but it's pretty dire, I think. But this could be pointing towards maybe Sony want to do something with the PS5. Maybe they're announcing a PS5 next year. Who knows? But anyway, that's where I stand on it. I don't like the idea that Sony aren't doing E3. I think they should still do an E3, whether it be maybe a lower key one. Like E3 2018 was weird. Maybe that's why they're giving up, because they want to put all their effort into their own experience, performances and showcases. But anyway, that's my opinion on that one. Let me know what you think by heading across to the Aussie Gamers Express Discord channel and pop something into the That Other Show channel, or whatever it's called. It'll be up there. It's not there yet, but by the time you're listening to this, hopefully I've remembered to make it. If not, chuck it in the general and we'll work with it. All right, so let's move on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is Red Dead Redemption for Game of the Year. Now, there's been a lot of online, what do you call them, polls. You know, Twitter does it, Facebook does it. There's been a lot of articles from all these websites where they're talking about what is your game of the year. And Red Dead Redemption is taking the lead on most of it. Why is that? Is it because it's the most recent game out? Is it because it's one of the biggest games of the year? Is it because it is the best game of the year? I think it's probably a concoction of all of that stuff. There are a lot of people out there that really love Red Dead Redemption. There's a lot of people out there that probably love the hype of Red Dead Redemption. Me personally, Red Dead Redemption is probably a couple down the list. It can't be Game of the Year. Don't want to give away too many spoilers for our Game of the Year special, which is coming soon. But for Red Dead Redemption being Game of the Year, I feel like we're giving it to Red Dead Redemption because it's Red Dead Redemption and because it's Rockstar. Red Dead Redemption 2, I should be specific, is bloody slow going and boring. I'm keen to keep playing it. After I finish this recording, I'm going to go play more Red Dead Redemption 2. But it's so damn slow. When they talk about, there is so much to do and so much to do. I want to bloody play the story. I want to know what happens. But it drags on and the game pulls me away from what is seemingly an important part of the story to tell me a side story, and I can't do anything but do that side story before I go back to something that feels meaningful and part of the actual story of the game. Red Dead Redemption, graphically, gameplay, is probably one of the best games that I've played this year. Fair enough. But my game of the year is going to be a package deal. Something that overall captivated me with the gameplay, captivated me with the story, and overall impressed me. It's not going to be something that just looks good and plays good. It needs all of that. So yeah, I don't know. So there's a lot of people out there claiming RDR2 Game of the Year. I think you need to look a little bit closer at the other games that have come out this year. Games that you may have even forgotten about that were bloody fantastic. I'm not going to go through a list of them because I'm not going to go giving away too much for the Aussie Gamers Express Game of the Year special. We'll talk about that with Snoogs, Rem and Greg. But anyway, I'd like to hear some opinions on what you think of Red Dead Redemption 2 for Game of the Year, and give us your ideas for what you would like to see up there for the Game Awards. All right, so that's it. Let's finish up on that one. We'll move on to the passing of a real-life superhero. Rightio, now obviously I'm talking about none other than Stan Lee. Now, if you don't know who Stan Lee is, and there's some people out there that don't know, the company that I was in when I found out about Stan Lee's passing didn't know who he was. I said, oh my God. I was at breakfast and I said, guys, did you hear Stan Lee has passed away? And I just got, who's that? Who's Stan Lee? I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Who am I spending my time with? Stan Lee, for those who don't know, is an American comic book writer and editor and publisher who was active from the 1940s to the 2010s. And that's the Wikipedia explanation. Essentially, the easiest way to explain is he is the creator of Marvel and all of the Marvel superheroes. He is a damn genius, this man, and God bless his soul. I'm not even a religious person, but God bless his soul. The fact that he lived is proof that there are real life superheroes, and not all superheroes wear capes. I think that was one of his quotes. Stan Lee was born on the 28th of December 1922, and he was born in Manhattan Beach, New York City, and he died just this week on the 12th of November 2018. And just about 12 months ago, he lost his wife, Joan B. Lee. Now, actually, I wanted to find out if Stan Lee was his real name, because he's Stanley. Stanley? Stan Lee? It's a bit of a strange name. So I looked it up, and his name as he was born was actually Stanley Martin Lieber, Lieber. So I guess for showbiz, that's shortened down to Stan Lee. Now, the biggest thing that people started talking about after the death of Stan Lee was the cameos in the movies and video games. You know, some people were concerned that Avengers 4 wasn't going to have a cameo. That's been confirmed, that his cameos for the sort of near future of the Marvel movies, they've all been pre-recorded. Now, they're only really short, these cameos, and I believe he did them all in one sort of sitting, just in one day, recorded a whole bunch of cameos, which I guess wouldn't be too hard to do. But see, the thing I think for the future going forward with Marvel movies and Stan Lee cameos, they don't need to go away. We've got the technology to bring him to life, regardless of him actually being alive. You take, for example, the recent Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 4. Now, there's a cameo in that, and my God, it looked true to life. They spent so much time and effort on Stan Lee's character model for about, there would have been about maybe 16 seconds worth of on-screen time for him, yet they probably spent more time on him than they did some of the other characters that are in the game for even longer. So what I'm getting at is with CGI being so good these days, they could easily just put Stan Lee into all the movies. Maybe maybe they'll get a voice alike. So somebody who can do impressions and do voiceovers for Stan Lee, or they could just cut out the lines and he could just be in the background as a cameo, or, you know, up front in a certain part of the movie or game where he doesn't say anything. And I think that would be great. And that's something they could do and continue on with for, well, as long as they wanted to. And I would appreciate that as a Marvel fan and as a Stan Lee fan. Yes, but once again, give us your thoughts and opinions on this one. Maybe show some respect. Go across to our Discord channel and go into that other show and leave some comments about Stan Lee, the legend. Right, let's move on to the next part I'm going to talk about, which is about the Astro C40. All right, now, if you don't know what the Astro C40 is, then you're not alone, because I only just found out about this today. Snoogs sent me a link saying, have you seen this before? Looks really cool. It's called the Astro C40 TR, I think it's called. And no, if you are thinking that this is some sort of headphones from like a gaming headset from Astro, you are incorrect. You're forgiven though. I'll forgive you, because Astros are very popular and famous for their awesome headsets. I've got the A10s myself. This is actually a controller, a Pro controller for the PlayStation 4. And I'll leave a link in the description down below for what I'm looking at the moment. It's got a video in it that shows all the bits and pieces. This thing looks bloody excellent. Now, it's wireless and wired if you need. So if you want to lose those microseconds of lag. You can plug it in, but whatever. I'd prefer to have the wireless. But this thing is really cool. While it does, I don't know about the look. The look is okay, but it looks a bit bland. But that's beside the point, as long as it's comfortable. But this thing, you know how like with the PlayStation controllers, you've got the thumbsticks right next to each other and you've got the D-pad away to the left of the controller. Well, what this one does is gives you the option, if you prefer the layout like an Xbox One or an Xbox, you can actually switch the D-pad and the thumbstick around. You pull them out of the chassis and move them, and somehow the thing knows that it's no longer a D-pad, it's a thumbstick, and you can change them like that. That's bloody amazing. Not only can you change the thumbsticks themselves with different heights for different torque and all that sort of stuff, you can actually flip the bloody things around. That's bloody impressive with the D-pad and the stick, the left stick. That's really cool. There are so many neat features which is on this thing. Let me look, I'll just read a couple. Yeah, so replaceable swappable stick modules. There's integrated remappable rear buttons, which is important on a Pro controller. Astro customization software, so obviously you probably plug that into your computer or something like that. Wired and wireless modes using 2.4 gigahertz wireless, so it's not Bluetooth, or it could be Bluetooth. I don't know what they use. Wireless audio, so obviously like the standard or the genuine PS4 controllers, you can plug in the 3.5mm headphone jack for your headsets. Trigger stops, which will essentially make a short throw on the triggers for first-person shooters, which is good to be able to change it up whether you have it or you don't. Pro triggers, I think they call those. And also, one of the biggest things is it totes a 12-hour battery life. So I think you get maybe about 5 hours out of a standard PS4 controller, which a lot of people complain about because you're constantly having to charge them. I never had a problem with it because I just switched them out and charged them when I wasn't using them. But that's going to fix that issue. It also includes a travel case. Now, when I first saw all these features, the biggest question in my mind was, how much is this bloody thing going to cost? It sounds really expensive. $199.99 US. I believe that's US. It doesn't really stipulate, but I'm going to assume that, which essentially would make it probably $299 if it was for Australian dollars. I think the rough conversion is about 270 odd, but then I guess maybe you could round it up to $299 is probably what the retail will be. And apparently it's shipping early 2019, so early next year. Really cool looking controller, sounds good, price is getting up there, nearly $300, but it looks like that price might be justified. I'd like to give one a go before I gave it my go-ahead and my approval, so to speak. But yeah, next year, keep an eye out for that one. I'll put this link in the description, the show notes, so you can check it out yourselves. And head across, yes, you guessed it, head across to Discord to give us your opinions and thoughts on that one. All right, let's move on to the last little bit for this show, this very first show, and it's called That Other Riddle. All right, so here is a game where I'm going to read out a riddle, and you, the listener, needs to decipher it and send me your answers on social media. You can send it to us on Discord, but we've also got Facebook and Twitter. And like I always say, the links are in the show notes. All right. Now, here's a bit of a hint. The answer to this one is the name of a video game. This one's probably going to be a little bit easy. Easy if you play games. But let's see how you go. I often find myself in rooms with no doors. There's even parts of this place with no floors. Jumping high into sky is easily done. And throwing around cubes is how I won. If I can't get where I need to be, I just use a tool and then I am free. If I walked into that fire, I just might have died. All along I knew that the cake was a lie. Easy one, yeah, I bet it is. But why not start with an easy one? If you think you know what that one is, head across to our Discord channel, go into that other show, and leave a comment with what you think that other riddle is. And if you're correct, I will name you in the very next episode of That Other Show. Well, that is all I have time for this week. So I would like to say thank you very much to any of you. I can't name you because I don't know who it is that's listening just yet, but any of you and all of you that are listening to this new little side show that I'm putting together on my own. If you are interested in being part of it, then send me an email to thatothershow@aussiegamersexpress.com. And maybe we can work something out. If you've got some ideas for some segments, please let me know that as well. Head across to Discord or send us an email. Now, also, just remember, besides whatever you're listening to this on right now, this podcast is available on... You know what? I haven't worked that out yet. At least it's on iTunes, I think. Maybe YouTube? It's very early days. I haven't put that much thought into it just yet. Alright, give us your opinions of the show over on Discord. Thanks again for listening to the show. And as always, I am Lucas from Aussie Gamers Express. And until next time, I will